I am the owner of Integrative Minds, where we help you become the leader that your family and your friends and the people in your business want to follow. So I assist my client in creating a family of their dreams while having a lot of fun in the process and still instilling the boundary and the foundation and the structure. Hi, Catherine. Oh my God, you're up. So I was just thinking if you're home and listening to this right now, you must have kids. They're asleep, or you're like me, just kind of enjoying the peace and quiet on a Friday night, knowing that no one's going to be calling me. So I'm here to talk to you about something really important for me, and that's forgiveness. It was used to be really hard for me to forgive. Hi, Michelle. To forgive. I had a hard upbringing in the sense that we had to leave our country when I was very young as refugees. As some of you know, I've spoken about this, and I question why God and anybody on the higher above, would rip our family from our country like that. And, coming here to the United States was really difficult for my parents to adjust, not knowing the language and everything. And then, I got into relationships that with men who were hard to forgive. Let's just say that way. They did not treat me well, and it was very difficult. But in my journey, I had some amazing life coach, an amazing grief coach who also became my leadership coach. And I went to a coaching school. I struggle with forgiveness. Yes, Catherine, but this is going to be great. Keep listening. This one really, really helped me. And I learned a lot from Bruce Schneider. He is the owner and founder of IPEC. And many of us have difficulty forgiving others, and I think also with ourselves. And I think that was the biggest thing for me, was forgiving myself, because I believe that in forgiving, that somehow you're condoning, that I'm condoning or pardoning a particular act or behavior of someone. So that's why I lived with this negative emotion and anger, because I just felt like if I forgave them, that meant that what they did was okay, that I was somehow condoning that behavior. And I experienced domestic violence. I experienced things that people shouldn't be experiencing. In fact, the primary definition found for forgiveness in the dictionary is to excuse for a fault or an offense, to pardon. So my definition of forgiveness, though, involves releasing the negative energy of judgment and blame and moving forward. And this is what I learned from my coach that has really helped me. It's just releasing my negative energy and my blame for someone. It wasn't about condoning what they did. And so I believe in the definition that there's no wrong or right. And when we believe that, we recognize that whatever we're forgiving is going, if we don't do it, it's going to hold us back in some way, right? Because we're hanging on to that negative energy. In fact, I think I had the biggest shift in my life when I was able to remove that negative energy from my life, and to be able to just let that energy go. I forgave people that held me back. I forgave people that hurt me. And also in that I hurt in some way. I think that sometimes you forget that there's two people that, that struggle with that in that argument, and somehow you probably hurt them too. And at first, I think forgiving someone else sometimes, hi Lisa, I think at first glance, forgiving someone else sometimes seems like an impossible task. I mean, it was impossible for me for decades and decades. It wasn't really until this last 10 years in my 40s that I started seeing why it was so important and how I could jump leaps and bounds when I was able to do that. I mean, when you believe that the other person did something wrong, like they didn't show you respect, they hurt you, they did something that seems to go so against everything you value. I know my first reaction was to get hurt, to get upset, to get angry, and to get resentful. So I remember blaming friends and partners, and I remember craving revenge. Think about a situation in your life, whether it's currently happening or maybe in the past. I don't want to get too deep into what's in my past. Some of you know it, but I'm thinking about too, where someone did something which you haven't forgiven them. Think about how that makes you feel, and just sit with those feelings for a moment, and then listen to the rest of what I'm going to say to you. Most likely, I know you didn't feel love, peace, or calm. I know I didn't. And that's because holding on to anger and resentment hurts really us. It hurts us more than it can possibly ever hurt the other person. And if you lash out at the person, I think it may feel good temporarily, but that negative energy inside is still there, and it eats away at you, hurting. Definitely, we know it hurts us mentally, it hurts us emotionally, spiritually, and then eventually it hurts us physically. It gets down to that body and blocking you from having all these great things that you are supposed to have from the universe and God. One of the things that really kind of flipped my light switch on was a quote from St. Augustine. And it's actually my favorite quote for forgiveness. It says, "Unforgiveness is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies." So think about that. Unforgiveness is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. When I heard that, it really rang home for me, because I realized that the only person I was hurting was really myself, because that other person probably doesn't even care, and if they did, they had their own issue. So when you think about it, by not forgiving, that's good, huh, Catherine? By not forgiving, what you're doing is only hurting yourself. So if your energy is spent in blame and anger, you can't spend it in constructive way. And that's what I found out, was that when I was just so tuned into just that anger to that person, I couldn't open myself to others, to my business, to anything, because I was just so high strung on that. So really, by not forgiving, you're only hurting yourself. And it goes on and on. You're just beating yourself up. Whenever I start feeling that way, I call a mentor. I call one of my coaches. I call someone that knows how to lift me out of that, if I'm not able to do it myself. So how can you release those feelings? First of all, recognize that you can take responsibility for what you're feeling and thinking, right? So you have control of everything you feel and do. And then acknowledge that you can make things better for yourself. One of my mentor, Bruce Schneider, he's the founder of Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching, the leadership school that I went to. He says, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Okay, so think about that. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. So make that choice to forgive you. Realize that in order for you to win, someone else doesn't have to lose. That's what we call the boxing glove syndrome. And just let it all go and acknowledge that the other person, I'm thinking about that other person right now, and I'm letting it go. Acknowledge that the other person was most likely doing the best that they could. This is a hard one, because you think that they're a grown adult, that they should have the mental capacity to act like an adult. And it's hard to fathom that they're not able to. But just believe that they're doing the best that they could under the specific circumstances that they're in. Right? Sometimes we don't make the best decision. Maybe they didn't either. Just realize that the gift and that opportunity in whatever happened. I mean, when you think back, I know when I think back in my life, the times that I had the hardest relationships, where I had to crawl myself out of bed every morning, or basically, get away from wanting to vomit in the toilet because my stomach hurt so bad from the anxiety that I had to learn that when I look back at those times, those are the times that I grew the most, that I learned the most. And then it was just time to celebrate. And even though I hated going through that, being able to go through those hard time, I came out not only stronger, but with more knowledge, with more grace and dignity. And I have to say, I made even more friends who rallied around me and became my spirit sisters. So what I realize is that those gifts and opportunities in whatever happened to us, when we can let go and forgive what happened and we can change our perspective, it becomes a gift. So think of forgiving in a different way. And I know it's hard, but thank that other person for giving you an experience that helped you grow and help you discover a new you, a new future, new friendship. And there's a great quote that I want to leave you with from Jim Rohn. It says, "Don't wish things get easier. Wish you get better." And that's one of the quotes I live by almost every day when I have a hard time. Don't wish things get easier. Wish you get better. So tomorrow I'm going to explore self-forgiveness, which is even more difficult and even more important. So I hope you'll come back with me tomorrow. Remember that change can happen in an instant, but you have to take that chance and make that choice. And when you master choice, you're going to master destiny. So I look forward to having you join me tomorrow. And if you missed tomorrow's live call, just go back. I'm posting this every day. Email me at info@integrativeminds.com if you would like me to share more things, getting really personal with you if you have a specific problem. And share this video if you find that it was really helpful for you, or if maybe it's helpful for someone else. Hi, Brooke. My new neighbor is Brooke. So have a great night. I really appreciate you guys tuning in, and I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye-bye.